Hi, welcome to our Kitchener WordPress meetup. This is our second beginner meetup, and our I believe our third meetup in total. And so I just want to first acknowledge our sponsors, Sortable for providing us the space and this food, the leftovers and the pizza, and the WordPress Foundation for paying for the meetup fees for our group, and for providing this swag for us, stickers and pins. So thank you all for coming. First thing, pardon?
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. First things first, just some housekeeping. I'd like to announce that Sortable's moving. So we're going to be moving into the Record offices in downtown Kitchener at the end of this month. And so the next WordPress beginner meetup is going to be in downtown Kitchener at the Record offices. We're going to have a larger meetup space.
So you're going to be right beside Trials?
I don't know where Trials is.
It's in the
same building.
Oh, yeah. Like we're in the building. We can you can access the thing from the mall, I think. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're gonna be. So there'll be some extra updates and stuff when we do move, like with the new address and maybe some directions on where to find some parking and stuff if you drive. If you don't drive, it might be easier to get there than to here. So bonus for that, and then bonus for Sortable for having lots and lots of space. Additionally, I said in the description that we'd be talking about the days that we would have meetups, and so I just want to take a quick tally for the beginner meetup. Who is available on Monday nights? All right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. All right, Tuesdays? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay.
You are talking about the beginning of the month or the
It's
middle?
typically being the first week of the month, the first full week of the month. Wednesdays? 11, okay. Thursdays? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Fridays? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, definitely not Fridays. And for the advanced, I would do a separate tally for the advanced because it's for people who are looking for more code-related help, not necessarily for like your basic topics. And so Mondays for advanced, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tuesdays for advanced. Wednesdays for advanced. 5. Thursdays for advanced. 3. And Fridays for advanced. Okay, 5. All right. So we're going to take that into consideration as we're planning our future meetup groups, meetup events. Also, what's your name?
George.
George has brought a camera and would like to record. If anyone is everyone okay with us recording today's session? He may or may not mention you in the YouTube video. He may or may not have to put subtitles on you.
I want 10% copyright.
Make me a star, James.
He may or may not use a filter on your face. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, okay. Anyone not okay with that? Okay. You basically be recording up front, so if you're not up front, then you're not going to be in the video unless you speak really loudly, and then it'll be your voice. Or if you wanted to come up here and dance while if he leaves the thing recording.
But I can rotate the camera if people are okay.
Is everyone okay with him rotating the camera?
Yes.
All right, good. Okay. So, to this meetup format is a kind of like more of a question and answer based format. There was an opportunity for everyone who RSVP'd to put in a request for like a certain topic to be covered. And so I'm going to start off by kind of going through the top 2 topics, and then we can go through topics one at a time, or you can ask questions and find out exactly what you want to know about a certain topic. I'm kind of the guy up here saying I'm an expert. I have a decent amount of WordPress experience and hosting experience, but anyone else who has an answer is more than able to speak up and share your knowledge. So if that's okay with everyone, I think we're going to start. You have to hit the record button. You recorded this entire thing already? Okay. This topic was WordPress hosting, and I apologize, I don't have like a presentation or anything. It's just, I just have a browser that I can use to show you stuff. And I'm actually going to probably sit down. But WordPress hosting, there's a lot of different ways to host your site. There's typically 3 different categories of WordPress hosting. The first one is cheap hosting, where you have a cheap shared server on basically any host, like GoDaddy or HostGator, Bluehost, to name some crappy ones. There's a lot of different quality of hosts. You'll find that when you host your site on a cheap host, that it'll sometimes suffer with speed, or if that server gets busy, then your site quality will suffer. But hey, you're only paying like $2 to $5 a month, and so you get what you pay for. The next step up is managed WordPress hosting. This is very popular. A lot of big hosts offer this as a service. It is shared hosting still, but it is designed specifically for WordPress, and they do some cool things. Some of them, like GoDaddy and SiteGround, 2 good hosts that offer WordPress managed hosting at an affordable rate. They have basically your server's optimized for WordPress, and you typically have like good backups, and you have good support for that. Then there are also some more premium WordPress managed hosting platforms like Flywheel and WP Engine. Both of those cost at least $20 a month, I think, for one site. But they also offer increased security. They offer staging. They have a bunch of extra tools to help you with your WordPress site. It helps you manage multiple WordPress sites at a time. WP Engine offers the ability to split between, like, you have a staging server and a regular server, and so you can have a complete second copy of your site on the staging server, things like that. Flywheel has the same thing, but you can't have them both running at the same time, so you can push your site into staging.
So what the staging for, what it does?
It is the ability for you to run your website complete and fully on a different URL without like publicly letting people access it.
Okay.
So if you're testing out new code or just like building your site, then it can be quite ideal. There's a third level, and that is like the high level, and there's a couple different, I guess, web methods in the high level, but there's cloud hosting through something like AWS, and there is also something called WordPress VIP, which is like a couple $1,000s a month for that hosting service, and you have to have WordPress VIP design your site in order to do it, or to transfer your site in. If you have like unlimited amount of money, you're gonna get the best quality through that, but it's quite expensive otherwise. They also like custom test every single upgrade to your site for you, and so you really are like VIP status, I guess. They'll like rub your boots for you as well and clean your car, but no, not really. But they make it seem like it. They do everything for you pay for it. Their hourly rates for like development are above $200 an hour as well. So, but you're getting like WordPress sponsored, vetted developers, right? So you get what you pay for.
Is the maintenance fee different for all the different levels?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Just curious.
Yeah, sure. What do you mean by maintenance fee?
Like looking after the website for if you're hosting it for someone that you're doing freelance for.
Okay, so if you're hosting the website for someone, you're basically providing the maintenance for them, right?
Right.
And so
But then you gotta pay for it yourself, right? Because you're providing that service.
yeah, so the server maintenance is always provided when you have when you pay for the hosting through through a host. If you have your own server that you're putting in a rack somewhere, then you have to worry about your own server maintenance. But when it comes to site maintenance, typically with WordPress, you're just updating plugins, making sure things still work. The maintenance isn't that bad. I wouldn't, like, if you're hosting, if you're a website designer and hosting the site for your clients,
Right.
then I would imagine that you would just have maybe a monthly check-in with them, where you do some updates for them and like a monthly fee, if that's what a service you're offering, which I think that people should offer, because otherwise these sites just die or get hacked or something and no one knows about it till it's too late. If you're hosting through something like WP Engine or GoDaddy or SiteGround's managed hosting, then they have they at least have the option to purchase like protection, which would prevent your site from getting hacked, or at least have really easy hacking recovery systems, which is like a big deal with WordPress having such a large market share. It's a big target for hackers. But if you keep everything updated and install high quality plugins, this shouldn't be an issue for you. So I don't completely understand what you mean by maintenance, but I hope that answers your question.
Well, I just know there's a maintenance fee associated with WordPress, right? Usually when you're, if you were to get a WordPress site for yourself, for example, isn't there a maintenance fee involved?
No, there's not typically. If you're designing like a site for yourself and you host it using like a shared host, it's like, let's say for a small business and you're not getting a whole bunch of traffic, typically you're on like a shared host and you're paying $2 or $3 a month because you got a deal, and the quality and speed of your site is not such a big deal because people come to your site to find out more about your business. They're not spending money on your site, they're spending money for you. There's just like a web presence. You can easily create one of those in WordPress with a little bit of skill, and you wouldn't have any maintenance. The only thing you'd have to do is sign in once in a while and update plugins. Even like the WordPress security updates happen automatically. So
So you pay so much a year for the site?
you're paying for the host and the domain, but there's no maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like any other site, basically.
Yeah, it's just like if you have like an HTML site,
Yeah.
like a static HTML site. So.
WordPress is open source, right?
It is, yes. So something that someone asked in the question was, what's the difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com? So WordPress is an open source solution, and when we say like these WordPress meetups and stuff, we're typically always referring to the product available on WordPress.org. There is a different WordPress product that WordPress provides on a site, WordPress.com, which is essentially a place where you can host a free WordPress site, but your URL is something.wordpress.com, and then you can pay them for extras, but you don't have the same open source control. You're kind of running a sub-site of their site, and you can't access the code at all, and you only have a limited amount of plugins you can use, and then for extra features you typically pay for them instead of just having the freedom to install whatever you want. There are, of course, paid features that you can add into the WordPress.org site too, but you install them yourself and you can, edit the code or whatever you want to do.
They're two different customers,
Yeah.
right? Like the text and the non-text, basically.
Yeah.
In a sense, right?
So WordPress.org is, I think, it's catered to a lower level audience. Someone wants to start a small blog, the same kind of thing like Blogger by Google. So if you can start a blog on WordPress.org, you gain a little following, you spend a little money, you get the URL, but you don't necessarily need the full content management system. So you just have like a blog site. Excuse me. So I think that's what WordPress.org is geared towards. Even if you're a large site and want someone to do it all for you, WordPress.org would probably not be the most ideal option. Drew, you gotta get the door. Thanks.
You mentioned market share. So how big is WordPress like?
I don't have
on the
up-to-date
internet?
numbers, but it used to be 25% of all new sites were being created with WordPress. And I have a feeling that it's grown, but I don't have the numbers. I know it's sortable. We work with a lot of large publishers who are using WordPress, but there are also a lot of publishers who aren't using WordPress. But even like a publisher who has millions of page views per month using WordPress means that the system's stable and it's it's something that can be used efficiently and professionally. Any other questions? Someone asked specifically about AWS, about hosting there. AWS is a cloud server hosting. So while we're on the topic of hosting, AWS, if like hosting is renting a house or buying a house, AWS is building your own house from scratch. So while there are even free options for AWS, if you want to host your WordPress site on it, you actually have to set up the servers themselves. You have to have the virtual machine, point to the storage, point to the content distribution network. You have to you basically have to be a system admin or server admin to install WordPress on AWS. So it's not for the faint of heart, even though it can be free up to a certain amount of traffic. So I'm not even skilled enough to be able to figure that out. It's a lot of headache. I probably figure it out in a couple of months, but it's not worth it for a small site. For a large site, AWS is very scalable, has a lot of endpoints, like great traffic distribution, content management systems, very fast servers. A lot of professional websites are hosted using AWS. Sortable has AWS. It's a professional system, and it's great for very, very large business. Consequentially, Amazon does not host using AWS, even though they own the service.
Who would they use then?
I don't know, but that's something that we mentioned when AWS has issues. All right. Is there any other hosting related questions? I kind of tried to go over everything. Yes.
I hope this question is relevant for some other folks as well. So you mentioned GoDaddy is like an okay provider at like the second level, right? I forgot what the name was, but like a managed WordPress site.
Yes.
So if I already have a domain with GoDaddy, now I want to start a WordPress site. Is that something that like they would lead me through it? It's like a 1 or 2 hour thing, or do I need to dive deeper into some like server specifications or whatnot?
Okay, so when I said that about GoDaddy, I didn't mean that GoDaddy is any lower quality though. Just so everyone knows, GoDaddy is a great host, and I actually really like GoDaddy as a host. One of my favorite hosts. They do have different options though, so there's 2 options that you probably consider. One is the shared hosting, and one is WordPress managed hosting. They may even have a shared WordPress catered hosting. That's not the same as WordPress managed. I haven't looked at their plans in a while. You have a domain with GoDaddy. You just purchase the hosting through GoDaddy. I purchased hosting through GoDaddy for a couple of months ago for like a client, and it was like $140 for a year for like a pretty decent plan for shared hosting. And then once you have that in place, they will already, like when you purchase it, they'll line your domain up with the hosting, and then you'll have a button in your dashboard that says put WordPress on here, and then they do it all for you.
Sweet, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, almost all major hosts will have this Add WordPress button. To the contrast, Amazon, AWS has like no Add WordPress, no like Add Server button. You have to like configure everything yourself.
So updates, would they cost anything extra?
You mean core updates, like
Yeah.
WordPress updates? Nope, they do not cost anything extra. WordPress is completely free forever for everyone. The updates will be applied automatically if they're security updates, which is something WordPress did a couple years ago. And then you can choose to update your site within your dashboard. So when you create WordPress, you'll have an additional dashboard where you can log in, see your content, add content, manage your site. There'll be an updates section where you can go in and you can see the updates that are available to the plugins, the themes, and the WordPress core that you have. And then you can click to update them, or you can ignore them if you want to. Sometimes that's in your best interest. If you have made custom changes to themes and plugins, you would not want to update them. But you should also not make changes to themes and plugins, because that's not a good way of coding. Because you don't own the source, so you should always code in somewhere where you own the source, and then add on to other people's stuff instead of editing other people's stuff. But that's way more advanced than this topic, than this night is meant to be. So, yes, Chris.
James, do you ever use a WordPress app, like the WordPress app, like say on a
Oh,
mobile
yeah.
device,
Mhm.
like to create pages, add content, and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff?
I have used it in the past. Back when I ran a content site, I would use that WordPress app to post blog things. I ran a site where I was selling gadgets and stuff that I was ordering from China, and it was really easy for me to take pictures of them using my phone and push them as products in the app right from there.
So I have a pretty newbie kind of question with respect to that. Like I've always done my updates for my WordPress.org site, by logging in at my site /admin and then type in and then do that from a web browser, right? So I've always done my updates that way, but I've never really got into using the app for logging in and doing that sort of stuff. I'm wondering maybe after, or maybe not now, but after the meeting, you could show me how I could kind of, like, because I've got my site added on the app, but then I don't know what I need to do the admin login sort of stuff.
Yeah, when you add the site in the app, you should be entering your login details there.
Yeah.
I believe. It's been a while since I've added a site to the app. I might even have the app on my phone right now. I just haven't used it that long. Something that is notable about the app is that you cannot, as last time I used it, there was no admin features. So you couldn't access the admin menus. You could post content, posts. I could do products with my plugin that I had for a store, but there wasn't the ability to change a URL or access change a theme. It wasn't the same dashboard as you would have in your browser. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
If you want, sure, I can help you after this. With
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't want to take up this time.
All right. Is everyone good for hosting? Actually, I have something I can show you. So this is the site, CSS team.wp engine. There's no domain associated with it right now. But you can, right now you have the links to admin the database and sign into the WordPress admin. So you can go in here and you can see the WordPress admin. You can also set up utilities. So there's password protection. You can add on the production, the staging. You can convert it to a multi-site. You can edit the caching settings, error logs, access logs, backup points, CDN that's content distribution network, makes your site much faster. Access SFTP users, so that's a secure file transfer protocol. Sorry, I can make this bigger. Yeah, so you can do site migration, all this stuff, and you can even use GitHub to manage your site all through here. And then you log in to the back end. For those people who haven't seen the back end, this is the back end of a WordPress site with the red theme. These are the extra WP Engine stuff you can do. You can purge all the cache. You can control your CDN. And you can also go to staging, and you can copy your live site to the staging server and have basically 2 copies of your site running at the same time. You make changes to the staging, and then you press another button, and it turns the staging live. So it copies the staging changes into live, so you never have to have any downtime when you're editing your site.
So you said this is WPA engine?
Yes, this is WP Engine.
Okay.
So this is like a more advanced host. This one is, like last time I checked, was like $25 a month for a single site, and $100 a month for 10 sites. Well worth it for some larger businesses, some larger sites, but for a small site, the extra features aren't usually worth it. So I have some projects which I'm using which will utilize WP Engine eventually when they're built. So it's like my favorite managed WordPress host. Then, do you have any questions about that? Anyone want to see anything special in WP Engine? I actually met the guys from WP Engine.
Security.
Security? They handled security for you. So if I was to go, I can actually just look at their features, but I don't remember exactly what it is, but something in their difference. Enterprise grade security, proactive WordPress security updates, and keep your website safe. I've never had like an issue with any WP Engine site with security. Never been hacked. They typically catch them way before they happen. So, yeah.
Is this on a Mac?
Pardon?
Are you on a Mac?
No, I'm not.
Can they
I'm on Ubuntu.
can they protect you against denial of service attack?
They do have ways to protect you against denial of service attacks, but I mean, like, the way that they would protect you is by just cutting out part of your network instead of the whole network. That's the typical response for that. So if your website goes down in an area for certain
Cloudflare does that.
Pardon?
Cloudflare does that for free.
Oh yeah, and you can integrate Cloudflare with WP Engine as the CDN. So yeah,
Any decent host should be doing that. Like,
yeah,
that's like,
I know, right? Like,
it's just,
I've never seen a host that does that.
well, it's just standard. And then
It's expected, but it's not standard. No.
they should be.
Cloudflare is free. And it also protects it against a lot of other things. It also helps with speed.
yeah. So I think that our sites on WP Engine use Cloudflare as well. I don't even know, like, it might just be included in the plan. I didn't even look at it. I know there's a CDN that's included in it. This one that I showed you is obviously not in production, so it's just a test site. So I don't actually use WP Engine on a daily basis right now, but I really like the system and have used it in the past. SiteGround, if you're looking for like a really good and cheaper mid-level managed WordPress. I haven't used it personally, but I've seen amazing reviews of SiteGround's managed WordPress. And SiteGround itself as a host seems to be very fast. Their support is all in Russia, but I mean, as a host, they're pretty good.
It's all Russian to me.
All right. I'm not saying anything bad about Russia. It's just that sometimes you want someone whose first language is English, and then you can talk to on the phone, which SiteGround support is not. They're not on the phone. Only by ticket system. Okay. Our next topic was setting up a WordPress site, and we had a couple questions about that. So I can walk you through it, I guess. So I already have a Bluehost account. I'm not a huge fan of Bluehost, but hey, I have it, so. So this is a typical type of cPanel that you'd see in a host. The letter C panel. Zoom that in. You have your domains over here. Special WordPress tools, I guess they added that. Hosting. Install scripts are where you like something like that would be where you would look. Don't know what's taking so long. But anyway, there should be like right be a button like this, install WordPress, right on the cPanel thing, as well as WordPress themes. There we go. So we're just gonna install WordPress. They're using this thing called Mojo. Select a domain. So these are the domains that I have on my account. I'm gonna put it on Wunderbox in a subdirectory of WordPress Meetup.
These.
Oh no, I spelled it wrong. Alright. And then I'm not checking any of the extra stuff. And I'm not checking that. I just want to go next. You'll find that hosts will often try to sell you extra stuff. It's a common thing. So this one has an option to set all this information to start. So this is going to be and is this useful for everyone?
Very.
Yes.
Okay. Password's not long enough. And since you can all see it, I'm just going to do this, and this will not be a real site, so don't try to hack me or anything, please. Change this before the video goes up. Alright, so it's installing. It's going to take a couple minutes. Basically just copying the files and creating a database for you. When I first started with WordPress, we had to do all that manually. And it was a lot harder than this, at least if you're learning. So.
It's funny because like WordPress has really evolved from simple blogging piece of software to a full CMS, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Got the email. Just log into this site. James. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D. 6. Don't steal my password. That's the password I use for everything.
Because different hosts will give you more or less control over your CSS files and things like that, right?
You should have full control over all CSS and stuff.
Yeah, some hosts.
So the first thing I do when I get in here, I see that there's a Bluehost thing in here. I go to plugins. I go to install plugins. And go down here. And I deactivate this guy because I don't want that. That's not part of the WordPress core, so I turn it off right away because it's just not needed.
What did you turn off? I didn't see it.
It was called Mojo Marketplace. It's something Bluehost adds to your site automatically, which I just turn off every time I create a site. It's much easier than going through the manual way where you don't have to add it. Jetpack, right here, this is services that connect to WordPress.com. I think most of these are free, but there's some like paid services you can get through there as well that run on your site. So stuff like tracking or some extra features like inserting a custom CSS just by writing the code instead of having to make a child theme. Those features are available through Jetpack, and you just connect it to your WordPress.com account, which is the same account you could use on the forums. Right here we have, so there's separate options for Jetpack. You can turn off Jetpack as well. It's part of the WordPress core, but you can turn it off if you want. You have your posts, your media, is pictures, videos, and things you upload. Your pages, your static content that goes on your site. Your comments that people leave, you can review them. You have your appearance where you pick your themes and set your values for like different display stuff. You can even edit the theme in this menu. Your plugins, where you can turn on and off plugins, install new plugins just by clicking Add New, and there's even a library built in that accesses WordPress.org's online library. And then and you can edit plugins as well. So if you want to edit your plugin inside the WordPress dashboard, then you can. Not always recommended. Edit your users, so you add more admins, more readers, more editors that can edit content but not take down your site if they wanted to, or like an author who can only write content but they can't edit other people's content. Basic tools like importing and exporting content from different sources, and then your site settings like how your media files display, typical thumbnail sizes, the URL of the site. And that's it. Like I can go, I broke it. I can click here and go to visit site, open this in a new tab, and this is the site that I have right now. That's a pretty nice theme.
Nice, good job.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't expect that theme. That's cool. I wonder what theme that is. I'm gonna figure that out.
That's a 2017 theme,
Oh, I have not
Yeah.
used it yet. That is so cool. Just a standard 2017 theme. Yeah, I'm still using 2016 themes, so. There's also a lot more theme options. You just need to go to Add New to find whatever theme you want, really. All these themes in this Add New are free, but some of them will have like some paid extras. So you can go and find the ones you want. You can do like a feature filter. I know some people asked about this, so I'm kind of going into it. But if you have any questions so far, I'll take questions. Yes?
Maybe a suggestion instead?
Oh, suggestion?
SKT themes, the best.
SKT themes?
Yes.
All right.
Is that your business?
SKT, you said?
Yeah, so just,
Ta-da.
no?
Ta-da.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so when you're inside WordPress and you're looking up plugins and themes, you're only looking at the ones that are available through WordPress.org. WordPress.org themes are open source and free and can have paid components, but as long as the initial product is free, then WordPress will host it. There are plenty of paid marketplaces for themes and plugins, as well as like other mods and stuff you can add to your site. Some of them are good quality and some of them aren't. My experience with paid themes is a lot of them are like super bloated. If you're looking for a theme and it happens to like also look like it all handles like SEO and like search engine, like special pages and has a discussion board built in and all these extra emoticons and Google fonts that they included, you probably want to make sure that you can turn that stuff off if you're not using it. Like it's nice to have a bunch of extras, but I was working on a site today where they have a paid theme and there was 35 included files on the page that needed to be loaded before the content loaded. So, and they're all like Gravatar and all these things that aren't necessarily required for the site. I saw a lot of stuff that wasn't actually used. So just be aware that there are themes that will include a bunch of extra files. I'm not endorsing any free theme site. When I code a WordPress site, I typically just take a standard theme and just do all the work myself. Because then I know what the source is, I know what the code's like. I just take like a regular WordPress theme and then make a child theme that has all the features. I make my own widget areas and I do all the CSS. So, but there's other ways to do it. I've used paid themes too. Sometimes they're nice. If they really fit, and they're a good investment, but it's better to like fiddle around with a free theme than to fiddle around with a paid theme, in my experience.
It's always best to add what you need rather than try to subtract a bunch of stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
just cleaner.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for the suggestion. I've used a lot of Woo Themes products as well. WooCommerce is a really decent WordPress shopping cart, and they have a bunch of plugins and things for that, as well as they have some themes that seem to be okay quality, but I mostly like focus on their plugins, and they have great plugins, expensive at times, but they're pretty good. There are plenty of other plugin sites that have things. Don't just go to somewhere because they recommended it. Do some research on non-affiliated rating sites. Would be your best bet.
Are they in the mobile space too?
Who?
WordPress.
Yes, WordPress, I believe, has most themes will have a responsive layout now. That's kind of the way the market's going, but there's also a built-in plugin you can put in that makes turns your website into a basic mobile site. So if you don't have a mobile theme, you can use that. You should always look for a mobile theme or a responsive theme. But yes, they do work. You're talking mobile websites, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have a system for designing mobile apps. That's a whole other thing. All right.
But to have them look like native, you know what I mean? If you, let's say I want to have a mobile site that looks like an Android app, but it's not an app.
Yeah, that might be like the built-in or like the stock WordPress mobile theme kind of looks like an Android app a bit, but it's not that good quality. I don't know if you want to design a layout that looks like an app. I think that'd be kind of cool. I already thought about designing a layout that looks like my desktop with these as the menu on the side of the page. I thought that'd be a fun idea. So, anyway, any questions about installing WordPress? What you see here?
So one thing about the layout, right? About pages and CSS and suppose JavaScript and stuff. So everything will go into pages, like they have some code different that we need to create, and you separate everything apart.
Okay, so you're talking about like developing?
Yes.
So when you develop for WordPress, you put all that stuff, like if you're talking about aesthetically related things.
Not that way, like because as a developer, you need to have everything set with the code, right? In the different things, like HTML stuff should go in certain place, and
Yeah.
for example, and
So
CSS.
you should look at the WordPress developer base.
Okay.
And come to the advanced meetup.
Okay.
But they're like the themes in WordPress are segmented into many different PHP files.
Right.
There's a header PHP file, there's
Yeah.
a footer PHP file, there's like sidebar PHP files, and then there's like the different templates for the content. So it's not too hard to create them if you know a thing or two about writing a little code. Not necessarily a good beginner topic, but
Oh, yeah.
I'd be open to discussing that later on.
When's your next advance?
It's gonna be, well, what's my thing say? See, Monday and Wednesday. I choose Wednesday, so that's my
Oh, you're
vote.
still, okay.
Oh, sorry, that's beginner. Advanced. Fine. Looks like advanced is gonna be on a Monday
Okay.
in 2 weeks. Okay?
Okay.
If anyone has a calendar, wants to figure that out.
Are they the same days on for each one?
No, so the beginner has, I did a different vote for beginners than for advanced. So if I figured different crowds, different days might work better. So it looks like for beginner, we're gonna do Monday and Wednesday based on this as well, so. All right. Yes, John and then
Yeah.
Mike.
Maybe you could just tell people about like what like the kind of structure of WordPress, like what a page is for and what a post is for and that type of thing.
Okay.
Like a blog?
Yeah. Okay. So WordPress has two different main types of content: page content and post content. Page content is a good example would be an about us page, or a contact us page, or this is our team if this is a company. So this is a page where you're going to link to it on your menu, and you're going to have static content that's going to remain the same for long periods of time. And then when you want to update this, you would just edit and update it. Post would be some more of an ongoing type of event. So let's say on jamesstrang.com, I have a couple posts about projects that I've done, and as I have a new project, I create a new post, and you can go through and see the archives of my projects as different other posts. So it's more of a dynamic type of content, as well as it can have tags, and you can go through them by date, or have categories, whereas pages are very static, and they don't have all these extra ways to search through them. Typically with blogs, like a lot of successful bloggers will blog like a couple times a week and have a good following, and then when people find a blog they really like, they can look through and see all the previous posts. Something else about posts is that you can use custom post types. So you can actually use the post format for any content you want. So I had an idea with some people who worked here about a dictionary word ranking site. So we're going to import the entire dictionary into a WordPress site as a custom post type. I'm still thinking about doing this, by the way, Drew. And then have attributes associated with those posts for ranking values. And then so people can go on the site and they can click the rank up or the rank down for different words. And then they'd all be stored as custom post types. And so you could like rate a word based on how appropriate it is to use the workplace, based on how easy it is to say, how friendly it is to like someone you're trying to form a relationship with, or like based on like what words should I use in this paragraph, and you can rank the words based on their connotation. Yeah. And so I downloaded the dictionary in a CSV. And I haven't built that one up, but I thought it would be a really cool idea. So
I think once this video goes online, that idea will be taken. Somebody else will set it up.
yeah, or someone else like the free dictionary will just add that to their site.
But I guess what I was saying earlier about it evolving basically from a blog piece of software to full CMS.
Yeah.
The number of plugins that are out there now are what do that, right?
Yeah.
They allow you to do, like for example, would there be like a PayPal plugin or something for credit card processing? Like, you know, you can make it a sale. You could definitely make it a
Yeah.
sales website, right?
So like custom post types are really the backbone of WordPress, because you can have any type of content in them. And so WordPress used to be a blogging platform, and now it's a content management system. And the reason why it's excelled so much is because of the custom post types. And I know you're thinking like, this is like a developer thing, like having to add this into the system is really tough. There are plugins that do it for you, right? So there's a testimonial plugin, for example, that can add to the site on the testimonial section, and it'll have testimonials. People can add testimonials to the front page. They can see, they can like put in where they live, all this other information, all into these custom fields for this post type, and that you just have another part of like another kind of content in your database. And it's so accessible and it's so easy to add new stuff that really makes WordPress really strong. The other thing is the plugins, because WordPress is open source and because it has such a large market share, it's targeted by a lot of developers to make plugins and themes. And so there's a wide variety of plugins and themes available. It wasn't like that 10 years ago, but it is now. So plugins and themes, then like the versatility of those weren't what made WordPress grow, but they're something that makes WordPress great today.
So those are two separate things, custom
Yeah.
post types and plugins.
Yeah.
So when you're
So,
sorry,
did
yeah,
I-
you had another
Did I get
question.
you already, or
No,
Go
you
ahead.
did.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, like WordPress, when you blog, right, it's just straight text. Like you don't have to do it in HTML, because I know PHP is
Yeah,
the
I mean-
language behind WordPress, but I'm just wondering if you have to do any special kind of computer language beside text.
All right, so this this WordPress site. Fine, I'll update the freaking no. All right, fine. All right, so this is just straight text, and you have a kind of like a WYSIWYG little editor here, bold, italics. You can change it into like a different type of text by using
so you've got
different heading options.
HTML elements there, yeah.
Yeah, and you have the HTML text tab as well. So it converts it to HTML, and you can go and edit it that way as well.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, there's some extra things built in, like shortcodes, where you can use square brackets to add in additional plugin functionality wherever you want it. Like if you want to add in ads, you can add them in with a shortcode in the middle of an article. There's a good example of a shortcode, I believe, is this insert read more tag. So this is a read more, and so anything after here won't display when you're in a search result. Now it'll only display if you actually look at the post itself. And so you can go through and you can have your content and you can program in your own excerpts so that when people are searching on your site, they see like this little teaser type of line. You can have this read more like, I saw 5 million blank at the beach. Or I saw 5 million of these at the beach. You never guess what it, and then read more here.
It's a clickbait.
Yeah, that's a clickbait. I work for an ad company. We see them all the time. But yeah, that's a clickbait. Ideally, like you want people to click on your content, and so clickbaiting is like the way of making people click on your content by misleading them. You want to make people click on your content by not misleading them, but the same principle. You still want to put some juicy stuff in the front to make people want to read it. It would be nice if the stuff at the top was not a lie. There's also, so if I go to text, you see this here is an HTML comment that was added. You can also add shortcodes would look like this. Like that. So the square bracket type thing, you can add in dynamic content through different plugins you have installed by using these square brackets. So that's really another really versatile thing about WordPress, is just being able to add content, having all that control.
So is this free? What moment you have to, I mean, beside the domain name, yeah? Or,
So if you pay for the domain name and you pay for hosting, then everything else is free, unless you want to buy a premium plugin or a theme, then yeah, or pay a developer to do stuff for you. But if you wanted to like learn all this yourself, you could get to this stage pretty easily just by paying like a couple bucks a month for hosting. Usually comes with a domain name, and then just click the button to create WordPress, and you're off to the races. The issues come when people load in 500 plugins, they don't know what they do, and they really crowd their site up. That's a common mistake.
That's
Don't
the
do that.
equivalent of the old days when websites would have all the flashing GIFs, and everybody thought that was the greatest thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the marquees.
Would you ever have to go into the root of PHP and change something?
You mean like the parent directory of the files?
Yeah.
Yes and no. Depends on what you're doing. So you could probably like be a pretty happy website owner and not have to do that. There are some things that would require it. Even like sometimes you'll be required to do it by like certain services that want you to authenticate yourself, or you want to upload something to your site that's not built in WordPress. So if you have like a custom HTML, JavaScript calculator code that people could like you link to, the easiest way to do it would just be to upload the raw files and then just link to it, and then have open it in a pop-up of some sort. So put an iframe and then pop it up, or yeah.
Or put it into WordPress? Like
Yeah, or you could write it in WordPress, like if you wanted to. You can
pop it up like in an ad in a blog, like you said.
Yeah, so you can do things like, so with images, like if you're clicking on an image, you can have it, instead of go to the page where that image is defined, typically every image will have its own page that you could access. You could have it open that in what's called like a light frame. You could also program a light frame to have an iframe inside it to load content that's also on your server but not built with WordPress. Yeah, so like for example, let's say I wrote this pricing calculator for this fancy thing that doesn't have like, you're trying to like pledge a certain amount for a Kickstarter. This is a real case scenario that I actually did. I was working for a company, I was running a Kickstarter, and their price was so complicated they needed to have a calculator so people pledged the right amount. And so on their website, we made this thing, but I made it using JavaScript, HTML, and then they're like, well, we want to put it on the page. And so I just programmed the light frame to open up with an iframe in it, and the iframe had the content. I could have also injected that content in the page using JavaScript, but I didn't do it that way.
I think I followed.
Yeah.
Frame inside a light frame, you said?
Yeah. So, like you know when you click on an image and like the background kind of fades out and it gets bigger and you see it there, and there's like an overlay around everything else so that it doesn't distract you. That's what I'm talking about when I say light frame.
Okay.
Lightbox.
Lightbox. Yeah. That's another term. Gray box too. It's yeah. Lots of terms for things like that. Overlay, interstitial, things. So. Is there any more? Sorry, Chris, you gotta.
I think I'm good.
All right.
Yeah. Continue. Yeah.
Okay.
The price of domain name is fixed.
Typically, yes, unless it's in US dollars, in which case what we pay is not always fixed. But yeah, they vary. Typically like $15 Canadian, I think, right now. That's what I've
Depends
seen.
on the domain.
That's just the domain.
If it's hotter, then it's going to be more expensive, and if it's not as common, then it's cheaper.
Well, it's like if you buy your domain name through like just a generic thing, it won't matter if it's like, if it's not owned, it should be the same price. Yeah, sometimes
A
not.
lot of people took advantage over the years of the fact a lot of purchasers are confused over the difference between hosting and purchasing a domain name. So when you'd go buy your domain name, they'd squeeze in the hosting with it, or vice versa, right? And try to get the recurring payments.
Oh yeah.
And it used to be, it would be better to buy your domain from somebody separate than who you're hosting with.
Yeah,
Just
there was some like
as a rule
services
of
like
thumb.
Namecheap where they sell you your first year for like $3 a year, but then your concurrent years are more expensive because they already got you and like it's too hard to switch, kind of thing. Yeah, I don't mind. I have domains and hosting with like 5 different companies, and they're all split, and sometimes it's hard for me to figure out which domains with which company and which hostings with which company. I've done like a lot of website design projects for people where I use their hosting, but then now I'm maintaining it, and they're paying me, so I figured I might as well use it a bit more with someone else's project. So that's how this one actually started. This Bluehost account. Someone else like wanted the hosting, and then I tried to give them the logins and stuff. They're like, "No, you maintain it." I'm like, well, then I'm going to use it for other stuff too. Then, so that's what this one is. I don't think that's wrong. If you think it's wrong, you come talk to me after. Anyway, any other questions?
iframe. If you're using iframe for like another website, and if that website is down, what's gonna be with your website?
So if you're using an iframe
To somebody's website.
okay, so you have you set the source to their website.
Yeah,
and you're the
like-
parent. So you would see the 404 error in there, in the
Okay.
iframe. Or the whatever error the website's throwing. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have anything else not related to this?
So would you put your payment module inside custom post type? Or is it something like if you, I guess PayPal would provide you with that code type thing? If you're-
Yeah, so PayPal, if you're using PayPal, there's a lot of different options you have. Typically, if you haven't bought an SSL certificate, which is a certificate that declares your website secure, and you start using HTTPS, and you have a little lock that goes up right here, like this one that says secure. If you don't have that, you don't want to take payment on your website because there's the possibility that people could be listening in. And with this day and age, it's almost impossible for people not to be like trying to scam the system and take your customers' information. PayPal has different options. One of the options is a PayPal button, where you can put on your site. Let's say you have a couple different services. You can create a PayPal button for each one, and then click on it. It's just a link with a nice little pay now or whatever. You can make your own button and just have the link, and they go to PayPal and they pay that amount, and then you get it in your PayPal inbox. There's similar things for WooCommerce, which is the probably most common WordPress store plugin, where you just have a PayPal link. So when people are ready to pay, they go to the PayPal site, and then they're redirected back to you when they're done. If you do have an SSL certificate, you can take payment on your site. There is more advanced stuff to have to do with that. If you're going to, so typically you just implement the Payment Gateway Pro. I think you have to pay for it as well to be able to do that. I haven't set that up in a while. So I just talked to a client who did it, but they did it with themselves, competent client. Yeah. So, but PayPal buttons are the easiest way to take payment on your site. You've probably seen like PayPal donate buttons on some sites. Exact same thing, just a pay now instead of a donate.
Have you ever heard of letscript.com for free HTTPS?
Nope. Well, I guess there's free stuff.
Sorry? I get a free HTTPS at letscript.com.
There's also quality.
They're paid versions too.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
the quality is very.
Okay, yeah, because not all SSL certificates are created equal. So, just so you know, if you get a free one, it might not be as secure as you think it is.
It's free for a month.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you want me to go through some more questions that were asked? Does anyone want that? All right. This here over now.
Is that a separate thing you're doing on the side?
You guys need anything else?